Welcome everyone to Hockey Night in Australia. I'm your host Sean O'Connor, and tonight I'm joined by the ever lovely Courtney Kynaston. Court, how you going tonight?
Good. This has been a bit of an exhausting week, so I always look forward to this part of the week. We get to jump online, have a chat, and I don't know. We always feel great after it, so it's good to be back.
True. There's always a bit of nerves going into it, but then as soon as you get into it, it feels great at the end.
And look, we have one of our favourites joining us tonight, Anthony. Thank you for coming back.
He said favourite. You said favourites. I got very confused there.
Anthony Russell, a.k.a. Banners on the Wall. How are you, Anthony?
I'm not too bad. My mood is better than my visa status, and we'll leave that one at that, I think. No, I'm good. I'm good, guys. Yeah, we are inching ever closer, of course, back to our season here in Great Britain. The fixtures should hopefully be out in the next couple of weeks. So all my prep for my new season is vastly underway, as Australia continues to blow all of our minds because nothing is ever straightforward in Oz hockey. But I'm good. Delighted to be back. It's been about 10 weeks. I definitely couldn't replace Courtney even on my best day. So great to be on here with the whole crew.
Yes, it's a return to we had a show on your show where we were both on, so it feels good that all three of us are now on our show.
Yes, the check finally cleared, and so I've been allowed back on.
Yes, and obviously your visa is enabling you to join us tonight.
Yes,
temporary or otherwise. All right, guys. We don't have any comments yet, so let's kick off with a topic. Oh, no, second. Actually, we do. First one. Look at that. Eric Brook. Good evening, team. Anthony's the only one without a rink background. Yeah, Anthony, what are you doing?
In the post with my visa potentially. No, I just the camera's running off my phone today. It's my laptop is starting to age ever so slightly. So, but even then, I don't use a ring background for my own show. So I don't. So,
in fact,
consistency.
I've watched a few of your shows over the number of years, and you've got you often have a background full of
the hockey shelf. The hockey shelf downstairs. So in our house, because we have the lounges at the front of the house, and then we have sort of a second downstairs room which we call the library in our house, because it's where we put all the books and all of my son's toys and games are in there. But I get my shelf, my one shelf. But the issue being is that we don't. When I do the show standing up. So I have sort of a little rig that I set up to do that show, and it's Friday morning, and I've only had one cup of coffee, and I love you both dearly, but I am sitting down. Also as well today, my wife's birthday is tomorrow, and she's off work today, as am I. So I've come upstairs so she can have the downstairs of the house to do whatever it is she wants to do without potentially disturbing Australia's #1 ice hockey discussion show. So yeah, that's generally how that works. You get the plain background to contrast the two of you, as at least on my screen I'm in the middle. So
you are on the middle. Well, Anthony, happy birthday to your wife. You can tell her all of Australia wishes her well.
She'll love that. She's a bit. She does love a good kangaroo, or at least puts up with me humming the Australian national anthem when it's playing during games. So.
Yeah, you would be one of these people that you'd hear our national anthem all the time, considering it's Australian hockey.
Yeah, I do know the words. That's the terrifying thing. Not a big fan of my own national anthem, but I do know the words to Advance Australia Fair.
I am quite a fan of the British national anthem because it's so short.
I'm with Albo. I don't want a king or queen. It's 2026, so
that's quite.
That's why I'm not
a fan of the short anthem.
Yes,
I think our anthem should be shorter.
Well, the people who want "I Am Australian" by the Seekers, which are then sort of quadruple the length of your national anthem. Great song though it is. I think they might have to maybe find a slightly shorter version of that should they want to go forward with such a thing. But It's all good. It keeps us on our toes. It's 30 seconds before the game kicks off to, take a deep breath, take a pause. Remember not to shout too many swear words at Rob Love or anybody like that, and then you can just go on and enjoy your hockey for the weekend.
As Brenton points out, at least the British national anthem doesn't have the word "Gert" in it. Look,
but that's one of the best bits. That's one of the best bits of the Australian national anthem, because it's just like, and also as well, you say Gert in an Australian accent. That's amazing.
Good. Yeah, definitely the only time you ever hear the word, and everyone knows it because of it. So
bingo.
Like I says, beigey over bougie for the background. He must be very appreciative of your background there.
Well, it's very British. It's very British. If you somebody Google image British tapas and see what you get.
Fair enough. All right, guys, let's kick off into the last weekend topics. Courtney, how did you go last weekend? What did you watch? What were your favorite moments and performances from the weekend?
It's been one of those weeks where I haven't watched as much as I wanted to. Naturally, obviously, North Stars games, working on their content. Really close game on the Saturday, and then they just bounced back really well on the Sunday. So that was nice as a North Star supporter. Little bit cringe as far as the Ice Rhinos. I really felt for all of the players on that team, probably none more than Oberoi, who's a favourite of ours. That's a big scoreline that he's had to face as like a big shot count too. So that one was a bit
it kind of got to like 60 shots really quickly, I thought. I was like, whoa, this could break a record. I don't know if it did break a record in the end, but it would have been very close.
Yeah. It was nice to see them get up on the Lightning. Like, Lightning's had a tough weekend away with going down both games. But look, across the board, I think teams that needed points got some points. Traveling teams got some points. It was kind of a bit of everything, really, including a few suspensions at the end of it.
True. But yes, they weren't the only team that had big comeback. And I must admit, I was really happy with the comeback. But, the Mustangs and the Bears also... Not Bears, it's Ice. The Mustangs and the Ice. Or have I got this wrong? I think I've written this wrong. 3 teams made big comebacks. Now I've got to remember what they were. Anthony, what were your highlights from the weekend?
Well, technically 4 teams made a comeback because the Brisbane Lightning technically were ghosts for the weekend. Obviously, that situation got itself sorted. I think, as horrible as it sounds, you have to... The big focal point ends up being the Ice, like, turning their game against Central Coast into the first couple of overs of a big bash game. I think it was 54 shots through 40 minutes for the Ice. But I think we all knew that, irrespective of who was signed at the beginning of the season for the Ice, that reinforcements would come at some stage during the year, and the Ice's indifferent start caused them a bunch of issues, and somebody somewhere was going to get a kicking, like an almighty kicking, when the Ice finally hit full speed. And sorry, Anand. Sometimes you're the kicky and sometimes you are the kicked. And my man, you got a kicking. Like, it was terrifying. It was terrifying to watch. But you also put that with the additional context of what happened the night before against the Bears, who have played some really, really good hockey in recent weeks. Nick Seitz scoring like it's going out of fashion, and they went behind and then just clawed their way back into it. So you now have the Melbourne Ice not only with the firepower going, because they gave a booting to a vastly improved Central Coast side. I think if you think of where the Rhinos were, like, just into last season, not even thinking about a couple of seasons before. But now the Ice are just, the wheels appear to be turning. Ishida's back in net, maybe not quite at the level he was last season, but he's getting there. You've added Dupre on the back end, who is no slouch. Schindler's there. Ionzo maybe needs to get a couple of extra steps. He, of course, had a bit of a wonky game in Adelaide a couple of weeks ago, but And of course, everybody's favourite David Booth into the bargain. Like, the Ice are looking terrifying. The issue, of course, I think for them is that, Newcastle had they had a bit of a wobble this weekend. That Saturday loss to the Mustangs is a problem, but the confidence in the North Stars is I think probably the biggest thing for the Ice at the moment, because it's all well and good thinking you can, but the North Stars are top for a reason, and it's because they've been the most consistent team across the season so far. So watching their games was fun this weekend. When they lost on the Saturday, I was pretty certain they'd win on the Sunday, because the Mustangs' consistency has been, bouncing around like a rubber ball.
But it's almost consistent how inconsistent they are.
Yes, yeah. I think we all expected a bit more out of Giesbrecht as a netminder across this season. I'm not quite sure he's quite hit the heights. He made some big saves in some big moments, but I think his consistency across the campaign's not quite been where they would have liked it. But yeah, I'm interested to see now what happens when this iteration of the Ice hits the North Stars, because I'm not so sure that it's the Ice could potentially suffer a little bit here from being a bit of a paper tiger, and we won't know until they hit Newcastle.
Yeah,
it is true. Yeah, that is true. I find it all fascinating, because you still got Newcastle here at the halfway point during the season, and they're still going real strong. They had a little bit of a slump, which we talked about just before the show, but they've kind of recovered from that. They're kind of back in there again, and it's interesting to see how they will now go compared to the teams like the Ice, like the Brave, who have taken a long time to get their full teams to get up to speed, and now how are they going to compare?
And a fun little fact, we North Stars won't actually play against Melbourne Ice again unless we meet them in the finals. Positioning, whether or not we see them in the finals, or if someone else does it. But we do see the Brave on the 15th of August. So there will be another Brave game, but we've done our Ice campaign for the year.
And you've already won the series versus the Brave too, so but it will be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I must admit there were big wins for both the Ice and the Brave over the weekend. That first Friday night game in Canberra was a big event. It was pretty cool. Of course, the Brave won really big for their very first Friday night game, but the Adrenaline gave a much better account for themselves on the Saturday compared to the Friday. But they did get two big suspensions from the weekend against Canberra, both their coach and Colby Johnson. They're not suspended for very long, but they're kind of very important players to that organization at the moment, and now they're going to be missing 1 or 2 games. What did you guys make of Adelaide's performances on the weekend?
I had it on the Friday night game in the background. I did have it on after the podcast last week, and they seemed fiery, and then they lost Johnson, who behaved like a bit of a twat, and then they were flat. They were really flat. So, I think that highlights that Johnson coming to Adelaide has helped lift the team. But it just seemed there's something going on where it's almost wonder if they're fighting with each other and not working together, because they just couldn't find their footing. Like, they pushed and they did try. I'll give them credit. You could see moments, small little glimpses, but I just think they're going to have a tough end of this season.
Colby Johnson, I think, is probably very quickly got himself into that category of Jamie Burke, Joey Hughes, applying for the title of King Rat, as it were, across the league. But certainly he has. Teams need somebody to be a character guy, and maybe Johnson is not going to go down as the greatest import to ever touch foot in Australia, but he does have something about him, and he clearly felt a little bit slighted by what happened to him in Perth, moved across, and has been, has done something for the Adrenaline in terms of just making sure that there's a bit of fight and a bit of fire in in the guys that are there. And, irrespective of what's been said elsewhere this week, which I'm sure we will touch on at some point, Adelaide at the moment are working hard but not necessarily working smart. They're just they're trying everything. They're putting every ounce of energy into doing everything. And the problem, of course, is that they're getting tired really quickly. They're getting frustrated really quickly because if the simple things don't work, well, you've got nothing to revert back to. If you can't do the simple stuff, you're not going to go do the complex stuff. With all the will in the world. God bless Joe McDougall, but he's not going to skate around 5 guys and then shoot between the legs and beat any goalkeeper at the moment. But I really enjoyed watching Adelaide last year. There was an element of chaotic fun to them. Yeah. Something is clearly not right at the moment, and they're playing a little bit like guys who don't know each other. And yes, there was change, and that was obviously alluded to in the interview that Joey did the other day on the Adelaide page. Like Josh Adkins going was obviously a bit of a blow to them as well, because he was quite he's a decent high end offense guy for them. But like I say, something is not. The light switch hasn't gone on. Something has not clicked, and they just don't seem to be able to get themselves past the basic. Like last year, it was a case of they kept getting really, really close to some really, really good wins, and then would drop off. And obviously, they had that really, really big win against the ISO this year, and it was just and there was that moment of great. Here we go. The wheel has turned. Now they're going to push on, and they pushed. And instead of pushing on, they have fallen off of a cliff again because that 10-1 game, they were awful. There is no other word to describe. You can't paint a nice picture on a 10-1 game as an adult. If you're a kid, if you're in kids hockey, if you're like under 10s, under 12s, sometimes that happens, right? Because you'll end up against a team that's just that much better than you. But there's no good painting of a 10-1 drubbing anywhere. All right, Canberra, great. The AIS is a very different arena to Adelaide, but whatever's happening at the adrenaline at the moment. 3 wins all season, 1 regulation win, and the easy thing would be to say, get rid of Rory Rawlick as coach. But Adelaide's coaching position has almost been a revolving door at this point. You can't keep repeating the same action and expect a different result. Ultimately, I think for Adelaide at the moment there's an element of doubling, maybe just trying to double down on what their game is. Because ultimately, if people try to play the adrenaline at whatever the adrenaline decide is their game, I think teams will struggle, because the Ice certainly did.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I compare it to the Rhinos, for instance, because they've had a couple of big losses this year as well. But they've seemed to be able to then bounce back from having a big loss to having a good game. I look at this last weekend, for instance, that Saturday game, they were very good. They were very competitive. And that came off a weekend before where they didn't necessarily, the weekend when they were in Brisbane, for instance, they were conceding goals for fun. I don't know what it was, but every shot just seemed to be a goal. But then they seemed to tighten things up a bit more again, and they were very competitive, which at the moment, I guess Adelaide is struggling to do over a whole 60 minutes. They can be competitive.
That's the big issue for Adelaide.
Periods, but very tough situation. But yes, anyway, very good weekend for Canberra. Canberra really needed a 6-point weekend, and they got that, which puts them firmly in the mid-table battle with literally everyone. I think they're on 30 points, which a lot of teams seem to be on. So, a very interesting. I think that now the spread is 7-point spread between 2nd and 8th, which is insane. But yes, and the Ice are now knocking on the door of the top 6. As you mentioned, they had a very good week themselves, and who knows if when they break through. Although it is a different season to last season. Teams overall seem to be a lot more competitive. I don't know if the Ice will be able to as easily break back into the top 6 and then stay there. They might come in, they might drop out. That seems to be what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, well, the teams that are top 6 at the moment have been playing very well and like a little bit more consistently well compared to the ice. So, we, as I've said to a few, I described this part of the season as the crunchy end of the season, and points are really crucial at this point. We're counting down, like, it's kind of scary. It's like 8 weeks till finals. That's not a lot of games left in the season to get through and get the points and be in that position that you want to be in. So, teams have got a lot to fight for right now.
Yeah. All right, let's go through a few comments, guys, before we move on.
So many.
We've got heaps. I like Todd's here. Love being in the stands as I'm girt with other supporters. No Doogie, fake news.
He gets a break this week.
And then, unfortunately, the Rhinos' net was girt by the ice. Yes, they had a big weekend. And yes, hey folks, this is Chris and Jill. First time I've managed to watch a bit live. Welcome, Anthony. I always try and remember to acknowledge our UK viewers on the Thunder broadcast with mixed success. And he also he also enjoyed catching up with Lacho on the return to Perth as well. So interesting, yeah. So he's one of these, UK players, plays for the UK now, or had been playing for the UK national team. I think he was retired now.
No, Lacko played at Worlds. Lacko did. Still.
I heard he retired after Worlds.
If he has, it's not been made public knowledge because we did have a spate of guys retired from national team duty. Rob Dowd, our national team captain, has stepped away. Ben Bounds, who's been our number one netminder for some time, stepped away, as has Josh Tetlow, who is one of our longer term defensemen. But he's retired from the game altogether. Rob and Ben are still very much going to be playing in the Elite League this season. If Lacko stepped away from GB duty, that one's passed me by.
Okay, maybe I got that wrong.
But no, it's great to Rob Lakovic has been a really long-standing, very good servant of British hockey. Nottingham boy, which is very much a hockey town. It's where our national ice centre is in Britain, and he's just one of those players who, irrespective of his advancing years, is able to kind of do a job up and down the lineup in British teams. He's seen more time, bottom six effective penalty kill kind of guys. Scored a fantastic own goal in Guildford this season. Cheers, Lacko. But he's seeing him back with the Ice Dogs was an interesting one because it's not immediately the first sort of club I would have thought that he would have ended up with in terms of sort of teams that would kind of sort of suit his style and person and how he plays the game. But I think the thing the Ice Dogs have been really, really good at this year is one in all in kind of mentality, and I think that's worked really, really well for them. And if you want a guy that will do that kind of thing, Rob Lakovic is the sort of player that you want to do that. So where sometimes the square peg does fit the round hole, and I think it's worked out really, really well. And he'll be hopefully good to go. I believe he's back in Glasgow for next season. So we look forward, and he's a former Guildford Flame as well. So I'm sure a few of the fans at the Spectrum will be looking forward to seeing Rob back when Glasgow reappear.
Well, and we look forward to hopefully seeing him for the rest of the season for the Ice Dogs and finals. That should be fun in the AI. So Ice Dogs with a real good chance of qualification this year, which should be great. Someone else, shot counts have been really high this season. Look, I definitely agree. I think just goals as well as shots are really high. I haven't actually run the stats on that, but
I feel like we've had so many double-digit games.
Yeah,
defense has been optional. Defense feels like it's been a bit optional. We've had some really, really stellar net minding performances and lots of really, really high-powered attack. And like we have a joke on my Wednesday night show: why defend when you cannot defend? And Australia seems to have taken that very firmly to heart this season.
Yeah, I think quite a few of the new fans from the UK are quite bewildered by just how many goals we seem to score per game here. So I do like this next comment. Soon they'll say a 5-goal lead is the most dangerous lead.
It is in this league at the moment. There's literally no lead is safe until the buzzer sounds at this point, because somebody will just Banik Bouchard will appear or Svachkov will appear, and somebody will just pull something. What? Sorry.
Or Bastille.
Yeah. Like there is no shortage of players in this league that will turn up and do something magical to just turn a game on a sixpence and shift the momentum. So Lord knows.
And that was one thing on the weekend. Like I still cannot believe that Bastille scored 5 goals in one period, in the third period. And not only were they weren't just nothing goals, they were goals to get them both first level on 5-5 and then to get the winning goals. Unbelievable.
I think the thing is though is that within context as well. God bless the Brisbane Lightning, but you're 5-on-5D lads. Anything like Zach Shankar getting 11 assists in one weekend is great. I'm a big believer in defenders defending, which is you can't letting a guy score 5 in Beerley. That guy's getting run by the keeper's just running out and Hasek flipping a guy like that at some stage. I'm slightly surprised that nobody did, but yeah, Raphael Bastille has just been otherworldly this year, irrespective of what happens to the Rhinos in terms of their playoff fortunes. They're a couple of games ahead of everybody, so the window is kind of closing on them, kind of hitting 6th. But Bastille has to be in the discussion for MVP. Right? He has to be at this point.
Yeah. Michael Smith makes a good point about this. This comes back to what we're talking about before. 76 shots in regulation on Sunday equals the number of shots in regulation against O'Brien as well from 2024, although then he faced 3 in OT. But yeah, absolutely unbelievable. He faced so many shots on the weekend. I couldn't get over it. But one player who bucked this trend of all these goals, we actually had a shutout on the weekend. 8-0 shutout too, I think it was, with Hayden Plumley score getting the shutout, the young Sydney Bears goaltender, who's been really impressive since joining the league. Following I can't remember the Bears other player right now, but the other goaltender when he got injured. James Downing. Thank you. But yeah, he's been really impressive since joining, and really good to see a young goaltender get a shutout.
Yeah,
only the 3rd this season. And
given how high the goal numbers have been, like we're talking double digits for some, it's a pretty impressive thing to get none. So I think in contrast to what was just being said, the Bears have worked out their defense.
There's something as well with Plumlee as well, because obviously like lies, damn lies, and statistics, right? Like his GAA at the moment is 3.47, which you look at that and you start wincing. Then you look at the context of the league. He's got an over 90 save percentage with a 3.47 GAA. That speaks of a netminder doing decent things in a league that is incredibly high scoring. So yeah, it can only tip the cap to him as well. And also, I believe he's an American and Australian citizen, so he counts as a local. Is that right? Hey,
yeah. So my understanding is that he was born in America, then he moved to Australia when he was very young, grew up here, and then moved back over to the States. So he definitely he went back over to the States with an Australian accent. Although now he's got an American accent, I'm told. So
Hey, but either way, Anthony Kimlin is one of those sort of defining era players of the AIHL for the amount that he has put into Australian hockey. But Kimlin ain't going to play forever, and the Bears have being able to kind of potentially rely on Downey and Plumlee as the next stage, and as the sort of the junior systems get back up to speed in Sydney following the rink refurb. Like that's no bad thing, and the Bears have looked pretty solid since coming back.
And we look at the Ice Dogs as well. They've now got Ryan Burrows, who again is one of these players who's come in from overseas, but is Australian as well, and he's absolutely teared it up. And he's so young, so there's another player which the Ice Dogs should hopefully be able to keep bringing back and performing really well for many years to come. So it is true. Yeah, Anthony Kimlin isn't getting any younger. So having them the next step is important for the Bears organization. And we've got some good goaltenders around, so it's good to see. I just want to put this up here. Brenton said the Brave ran out of pyro in the 9th goal. My God.
I just have this image now. One of the brave volunteers, like, we're out of pyro, just running up and like a party popper.
And Sky here, Great Wall of Kimlin. Oh yes, and defense is lacking this year across almost every team. Goalies are being left to dry. But yet, I think if I actually have a look at it, we've got like 4 goaltenders who have like over 0.9 save percentages, which is amazing considering the amount of goals that are going in. And then Kimlin's only like 0.89, so he's very close. But absolutely crazy season, guys. And that, I think we can breach into the next topic there. Speaking of a great season, Anthony, we are midway through. What have you made of this season compared to last, or compared to how you thought it was going to go at the start of the year? Because we did talk about this pre-season.
We did talk about it in pre-season. I think the Ice Dogs have outstripped, I think, pretty much everybody's expectations. But of course, we only had kind of what we knew before, which was the Bears always kind of a bit of a step ahead, at least sort of post-COVID, they certainly were. But the Ice Dogs have been fascinating to watch this year. They've done really, really well. I think as well, one of the things that I know was talked about on the show was Australia's not playing in the Worlds meant that a lot of those national team guys were ready to go at the beginning of the season in rosters, and I think that's really showed for the teams that have really showed for a few teams, because there was always that little bit of sort of the first couple of weeks were a bit of a chuck a brick in the pond and see what kind of happen levels worth of stuff, because you knew that Newcastle would be down quite a few guys, you knew Perth would be missing a few guys as well, and actually those teams, you think that Newcastle and Perth have been that much more consistent because they've had their national team players there the entire duration, and I think that's really shown because it's allowed their team chemistry to be to really kind of play out across the course of the season. Whereas we know
exaggerated. Sorry to butt in, but it's probably exaggerated the Ice and Braves tactic of we'll wait for our good imports later in the season and try and pick up some points at the start of the year where we can. Then they normally can do that, but this year, because the other guys have had their national team players the whole time, it's kind of exacerbated the gap that they had to try and catch up.
Yeah, but I think it also as well, it speaks to the really, really good strength of the local players in some of those places. I mean, like I say, the guys in New South Wales all kind of coming back in terms of Sydney. But if you just look at the top 4, we'll take the Brave and the Mustangs out of the top 6 at the moment. And if you just look at the top 4, think about, we talk a lot about the imports on these teams as well. I mean, Blooming Evans, Yevgeny Svachkov has been a human highlight reel the last couple of weeks. but think about the depth of Australian player in all 4 in the North Stars, the Thunder, the Ice Dogs, and the Bears. And yet we've talked a lot about Nick Seitz recently because he, having had a really rough year in Britain, has gotten himself fit and got himself healthy and is tearing the league apart. And Svachkov is doing great things, but arguably the best performing netminder in the division is an Australian. And you've got Newcastle, who are built off of the strength of a really solid core of Australians, and Perth are built off a really, really solid core of Australians as well. And actually, those teams that have been able to really concentrate a good, solid, consistent, high quality core in a league that is, like everybody's going gangbusters and shooting on sight from any distance they possibly can. They're the ones that have performed consistently and well. So I think there's something to be, you can sign 500 game in NHL imports as much as you like, and there is things that does for the league, there's things that does for the entertainment product, but Australian hockey needs to be built off of the base of the fact that it needs Australian players in it, and the teams that had their the teams with more national team players have performed more consistently and better from them not playing in Worlds this year. Now, I want Australia back in Worlds because it's great fun and it's good for people to be able to represent their country. You know, maybe one day we'll get Great Britain versus Australia in a double IHF World Championship tournament, maybe. But
you reckon they should reform that, by the way, Anthony? Like how they do Worlds. Like I know they got the divisions and everything, but it kind of means that you can't ever play, you know, bigger teams, for instance, when it comes to Australia. We can't have.
You clearly haven't seen the revamp they're doing for Division 1 from 2027. Go have a look at that. It looks like a bit of a cluster. I think it's probably the diplomatic term as to how that one could pan out. Because effectively, Division 1A and Division 1B will go, and it'll be one big lump done in a very, very different way. But yeah, this season has been. I think this season has arguably had. It's had a lot more talking points, I think, than we possibly anticipated of some of the stuff that we maybe don't want to talk about. Now, I am a much bigger acceptor of fighting in the sport than I think others are. And certainly my discussions with people here, when I talk about how the AIHL deals with fighting compared to how we deal with it, a lot of people do look at, when I explain how it works in Australia, people here, players here, coaches here, give me a bit of a look like they're crazy. But they're, of course, used to what they're used to. Not what you're used to. But I think as well, we've seen there is a big drive now. There needs to be a big drive now to improve Australian defensemen. I think there is clearly a bit of a lack of that higher, as the imports are getting better, as the league's getting more eyes on it. I think we could really do with a really big focus now of, getting bringing through younger defensive defensemen rather than trying to turn everybody into Cale Makar. But also as well, we've had some really entertaining games. We've had some, the season has been vastly entertaining. The sea has felt a bit more rocky, in which which girts the AIHL. But it's been a really interesting season. We've had tons of little threads to pull at, some of them better than others. I think it's been I find it interesting as well that we've had so many extra kind of eyes of people from my side of the globe paying attention to it, because it kind of, I don't want to sound horrible about it, but maybe this is my perception because I watch regardless and have done for a really long time. I'm just wondering where, I'm not arguing with it, but it just feels like people kind of appeared out of nowhere. It's just like, you've only just kind of discovered this now. Like, where have you all been? Let me tell you the great tales of yore of Jason Backlig.
I think an element of that, Anthony, is like social media is getting bigger. Teams are doing better. Teams are putting out more content more consistently. And like, I know particularly on Threads, it's been huge. And, we've had on there's North Stars, Mustangs, Perth, and Lightning. Those 4 teams are all heavily in there, responding to people going, the season's finished. What do I do? I'm having withdrawals. And then when those teams are getting in as those accounts going, hey, we're in our season, you're grabbing all of these fans that are like, I have no hockey to watch, and all of a sudden they've got hockey to watch because they are those sort of true blood fans that really want to watch hockey, whatever it is. But I also want to jump back to a point you made about the depth in teams. I think something we've noticed this year, like you sort of touched on how a lot of teams are playing consistently well, and we're seeing that because we've had people from Worlds. But one thing I've noticed in that is a lot of teams have to roll more than 2 lines. And in the past, we've seen teams will go out and play away games and play their games, and they'll roll line 1 and 2, and then occasionally drop line 3 in, or 3 and 4 in. Whereas, like, Newcastle's the one I pay obviously the most attention to. When you look at the score, like the box scores, you're seeing such a mix. Yeah, you've got Harala on there, you've got Daj, you've got Skachkov, you've got Drolle. They're our top guys, but you're also getting Paddy Naden, Liam Manwaring's been on there. You're getting these guys that are playing that sort of 3rd and 4th line, coming out and being really impactful. So I think this year, not only are these teams playing incredibly well from the get-go because they've had all of their players, but that depth has been forced because you've got such great goaltenders, you've got such great opposition. You're going to wear your people out if you don't roll through more of them, and the more ice time someone gets, the better they get.
Yeah, and I look at I think a great example of that court is the Sydney Bears this year. They are playing a lot of youngsters a lot. Like Logan Brody, like he sits second in their scoring charts at the moment with 20 points, and he's a rookie. You got Gustav Remler Jensen, who's played 17 games this year. You got Finn with you got these youngsters who they're giving good ice time to, and they are performing well, which is great for the future.
I think Remler Jensen is the most poignant example of what you've said there. He was third, fourth line of Rhinos last year. Now he's playing in power plays and penalty kills for the Bears, and he's outstanding. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
And there's something to be said as well for the old adage: play them. If you play them, if you don't play them, you'll never know what they're capable of. And I remember the days of 15-minute periods in the AIHL and teams basically rolling like 7 forwards for the majority of the game, and the poor kids turning up and basically nailing their shorts to the bench because they knew they weren't going to touch the ice or anything like that. And there's some really, really good, interesting young people coming through. And I think about and it's an example. I mean, I've certainly spoken to you about it. Sure, Sam Siwak at the Rhinos, like he's coming over and playing in our 4th tier next season. And I pinged. He's playing for the Haringey Huskies, and his goal that he scored against the Ice, I clipped the video and sent it to Lee Mercer, the Huskies owner. It's just like, I don't quite think you realise what you're getting, because I know Sam was over around Christmas time last year. Came down, trained with the team as a favour to one of Sam's old coaches, as a friend of Lee's, and they were like, "Oh, if you want, and sort of said, clearly saw something there." And I thought, this is what he's doing, because that's the defenseman that the Ice have just signed out of the SPHL, and that guy behind the net staring at what's going on, unable to do anything, has over 100 games in the NHL, and that's the lad you're signing to play in our 4th tier next year. Like, there's some proper good hockey players coming out of Australia. But yeah, if anybody wants to make any more defensemen, let's make the next Paddy Ward. Let's make the next. Let's maybe see if we can't find anybody who wants to, who maybe wants to, hug the blue line just a little bit tighter.
And it's interesting because I actually look at quite a few players over the years who now play D in our league, who originally played forwards, and they always grew up playing forwards, but to find ice time, they converted to Ds. I look at Nick Christensen as a perfect example on the Brave, for instance, someone who played forwards, juniors and all that, and then became a D for the Brave because that's, where there was opportunity to play, and has become a good D. But it would be good to start identifying players much earlier to take on those roles and really grow up playing those roles.
I think the hardest part, Sean, and I've talked to coaches in the Newcastle junior divisions, the kids want to score the goals. They want to be the hero. They want the points. So when they're in that certain age bracket, they want to go out and get the goals. That's what drives them. So it can take time and the right coach to go, hey, I see something in you. We're going to change it up. Like Hunter Ellen is on the North Stars is an example. He was a forward for a long time, and the last couple of seasons he's played defense. Finally got his first goal at the end of last year. And every year he gets better and better. And not just that, but as he's grown up, he's literally grown up. He's the tallest guy on our team. He's thickening up. So as a defenseman, he's just such a solid unit, like Brian Funes. He can put his body in the way. 9 times out of 10, that puck's going to hit him because he's a big guy. So
I saw I compared the photo the other day of him and compared to just a few years ago, and looks a completely different player.
Yeah. But he's done so well in that position. So, under Kevin, and under Mel, they've put him there, and it's gone well for him. He does a really good job back there.
100%. All right, let's get through some more comments here, guys. Sites was unbelievable in the Sydney Derby. Yeah, like he's been such a phenomenal player this year. It was interesting. I remember before he joined, like as he was announced when he joined, I talked to you, Anthony, about this because I wanted to get a sort of lowdown on this guy because he had like these unbelievable stats in the Elite League over in the UK, and then last season there was like nothing.
Yeah,
and then it was interesting.
I did also send you the video. Sorry, yeah, I sent you the video of the goal he scored against Nottingham last year. Where he scored from just an impossibly acute angle. But yeah, Nick ended up in Sheffield after his season in Coventry. He started the season in Sheffield, and for whatever reason, it just didn't work for him there. Guildford were in the midst of a massive injury crisis. Where at one point we had 11 rostered guys injured, and he came in off the back of that. But then he got hurt himself a bit as well, and they never quite found the right way to use him. He missed a lot of the back end of the season as well. Missed the last sort of month and missed the playoffs just through being injured. But there is a very, very good hockey player inside Nick Sykes. He signed to go over to France next year, and I think that's a really, really good position for him as well. The League Magnus play far fewer games than we do. The Elite League regular season is 54 games plus the 10 minimum that you'll play in the Cup, and in France he'll probably max, including playoffs, probably touch 40 or 50. And after a year where his body has betrayed him, shout out to Tommy Wiseau in the room. But a season that may be a bit less physically demanding might just help him kind of have a bit of a reset and another go. And I think, like I say, coming off, and he's got now a few weeks in Australia of really just kicking the door down to just hit the ground running when he heads back to France.
Yeah, and he looks like he's enjoying his hockey here, so it should be a good platform for him to gain some confidence back and then rebuild from that.
Yeah.
Court, a cat. What's your cat's name, Scott?
This one's Willow. She was on the show last week too. She's not happy right this second. And the other one is Cora.
You also have another question here, Court. From Sky, Hockey Romance Talk.
Yes. it's an off-campus jumper because
All right. Okay.
I hadn't touched a book until a month ago, and I'm already into book 4. It's I like it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Do have a couple of comments here back on the Worlds. Daniel says, need a FIFA World Cup style Worlds. That would be fun, I reckon. You could break it up every 4 years, just have something like that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun?
And then like really intense, like FIFA is, a focused chunk of time. Go and just focus on it, do your job, and then come home.
Yeah.
I mean, I would argue that you potentially end up with something incredibly dangerous, like a USA team full of NHL professionals taking on Indonesia.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's
probably not a great idea.
You wouldn't have the same number of teams as what they have for the FIFA World Cup, obviously. There's not as many countries that actually play ice hockey as they are football, but I like the idea. I like the idea of just having something like that because that'd be something to look forward to. Another thing, if only ice hockey was in the Commonwealth Games for the future, then we could verse the UK.
Yeah.
Or Australia could get good and join us in 1A. That could be an option too. Catch us up.
I tell you what, I look at how like the worlds work, and I look at where Australia is, and people will often go, "Oh, why can't Australia get promoted and whatnot?" And I'm like, "Well, we're kind of at the maximum level for not having a professional league because as soon as you go the level above, everyone's professional, and there's a big difference there. Whereas where we are, you get a mix. So
I will make a slightly controversial, but probably not overly controversial statement. I don't think IHA manages the national team particularly well. I don't think it does a really good enough job of getting the team prepared for going out to Worlds. I think they did slightly better with the women. But the Flyers But in the same way, actually, I think that
we also play Worlds in our off season, which doesn't help.
No, it definitely doesn't. It definitely doesn't help. But there's no reason not to be as prepared as you absolutely can be. And I think that's probably the criticism I would level at the national program in Australia, is that it does feel a little bit like the AIHL season ends at the end of August, and everybody's just waiting again till April for something to happen. I mean, maybe, sure, you don't need to train together on Christmas Day, but you've got from September to March to do anything. Raise money, get some camps together, get some Zoom calls together with some coaches and developmental guys from overseas. The national team program in Australia, I have criticisms of our national team program. There's certainly things that we do in Britain that I think we shouldn't do, but Australia, I think Australia has the ability to perform above itself if it gets it right. And I'm yet to see them really, in all of my years of watching Australian hockey, for them really to hit the nail on the head, especially when you think about what your friends across the ditch are doing, and how New Zealand ice hockey appears to be twisting tightening a few bolts and trying to get a few better ideas together. And Colin McIntosh can only do so much by himself, but they certainly appear to be a bit more. There appears to be a bit more kind of direction as to what they're doing in New Zealand compared to what Ice Hockey Australia are doing. I'll just leave that one up in the air because of all the jokes you can make about IAH.
Ooh, Anthony, hot take, but it's spot on and very true. And Thailand is now ranked higher than Australia in men's. I don't know if that's true, but crazy.
Insert Rory Rawlick reference here, and then we'll move on. Run away.
And yes, what other country
asked now they've said that
to play for a national? Actually, I think there quite a few of the lower teams do seek expressions of interest, because the problem with how Worlds works in the hockey world is that it's every year and it's very expensive, and the program itself can't afford to pay for players to go over. So you end up in a situation where you don't necessarily always get the very best players, because it's the very best players of who can afford to go.
Yeah.
Thailand are above Australia. Thailand are actually above Australia at the moment in the world rankings. So Australia do remain above New Zealand.
Winning. Speaking of, Australia and New Zealand teams should play against each other more. Look, they play every year at the moment as a warm-up for Worlds. However, do you guys like the idea of bringing back the Champions League as opposed to just the national teams?
I'll throw this out there because I didn't realise their ranking, but also ranked above Australia that would potentially be of an interesting opponent for the Mighty Roos. South Africa. South Africa are above Australia in the world rankings.
Really? Aren't they in like a lower league though?
Clearly not the point.
Yeah, not the point. They go.
If you don't turn up to Worlds, you don't get the points and bits and pieces. There are but obviously a lot of teams around that Australia kind of play. Serbia are above them, Bulgaria are above them, Iceland, Georgia, but also Turkey are above you in the world rankings.
Sky's right. They pay to play. The better players sometimes cannot simply afford to play for the national team,
and my point there, Sky, would be if Ice Hockey Australia got their asses in gear, it wouldn't be an issue. This is on it should not be on the players to sort this out. This is on your governing body to get right. That's what it should be. There should not be playing for Australia as an Australian in any sport is the greatest thing you'd be able to do. Like, the AFL guys will love doing the international series. If IHA could get its backside in gear and really, really sort this out, there is no reason, I don't think, given the quality of Australian player that we see week in, week out in the AIHL, that Australia couldn't be trouble in 1B.
Yeah. And we have made it to 1B before. We just don't stay up there very much. Eric, is the South African hockey team like the South African cricket team, full of Englishmen?
No. The Rhinos are a proper mix of South Africans of all stripes from the last bits and pieces I saw from them. Awesome jersey as well. Thoroughly recommend checking out the jersey and the logo for the South African national team.
I kind of wish our jersey was a bit more interesting than just a plain kangaroo on a plain color. But yeah, that's another for another time. I still can't believe we wear white as our normal color as well. Seems crazy to me. Why we aren't wearing like green and gold. But there you go. All right, guys, we have gotten well and truly off topic here. Let's bring it back. Let's get to some more talking points very quickly. Court, new Newcastle Arena. Thoughts? Is it going to actually accommodate hockey? Not accommodate hockey? I don't know. There seems to be talk amongst the community, but I don't think there's talk anywhere else.
Yeah, I think more than anything, the community talk means it might get in the face of the developers and the people that are actually planning it. Right now, there's a focus on, I believe, like mainly basketball and concerts, that sort of thing. But the more people that talk about it, being like, "Hey, we need a bigger rink," you just never know. There are what's the word? There is a blueprint that exists that you can set a rink up and pack it down so you can have other things on in between. And for me, I go that, how's the ice quality? How does that work to go well? But it happens. It exists. Yeah. So obviously it exists in a capacity that it works. So
I'm trying to look at how Madison Square Garden does that, for instance, because they hold like the record for like the shortest turnaround from turning something from a basketball court to a rink, right? They can do it in like 7 minutes. Some ridiculous time.
That's like incredible. So yeah, look, the more we get it in their face, then can we have an AIS arena style thing? Certainly not in the capacity of it's set up for April to August, and it's taken over by ice hockey. There would be too many other things that need to happen in that time when there's only 15 games.
Yeah.
But it can't hurt to at least maybe force conversations by enough people going, hey, we've got a huge hockey following. It's more than the 800 sellout that we do every week. Can we turn it into something more?
So the way it works at the MSG, for instance, is that the ice is always there. So the ice is actually underneath the flooring that they use for the basketball and stuff like
Interesting.
This. So they can then take that off and then just put the top layer of the ice down, and then you're good to go. So I think that's a really innovative way to look at it. And if you actually start the discussions now before they actually build anything, you can see if that could be something that could be built into the design that could then be used. But they do, the team that changes that flooring, they have like 50 odd people that change that in that time period. I don't know if they would have 50 people for a Newcastle arena, but yeah.
You have to consider, like, when they can sell that out to the hockey and sell it out for basketball and sell it like that size arena, they're making the money to do that. So, there would be an expectation of being able to that cost is covered somewhere. Yeah, it's a lot. So.
Yeah. But given how they're playing, there's a very, very nice, big, very, very shiny, very, very old marker that you could put down in Newcastle if they get away with it this year to say, hey, this sport is a big thing in this part of the world. You might want to think about that if they can do that. What I'd say is there's a really good video by Wendover Productions on YouTube for people who like Sam and all of those bits and pieces, where they show you inside the United Center in Chicago. So if you've never seen it and you want it really broken down and explained, go find that video where they change from ice hockey to basketball and vice versa. It's definitely doable. I mean, there's a lot of discussion over this side of the world about a new arena coming to Dublin that's got an investment from Michael O'Rourke, who owns Premier Sports, one of the TV channels here, and also owns the Glasgow Clan and the Dundee Stars in our Elite League. There's NHL players reportedly invested in this rink as well. This building that's going to be built into Dublin.
That's cool.
I mean, Dublin is a slightly interesting case as well, because Dublin is the only European capital without an ice facility of its own. And so there is something of a selling point there of like, well, if we build something out of it, we might be able to do something, because anybody on the island of Ireland who wants to do anything ice sports related either has to go north to Belfast or across the water. And the Irish would probably love to keep a few of those people back on the island itself. If I'm Newcastle, I'm looking towards what they do in a place like Belfast. at at what is now going to be the O2 Belfast after the new sponsorship deal. But it's looking like it will be a building of roughly a similar size, multi-purpose, does a lot of concerts, but runs hockey out of it. And Belfast as an arena to do those things is a fantastic place. It's really, really well done. I think as well that somebody potentially from the hockey community higher up needs to be able to go to the developers and say, hey, proof of concept everywhere else. You need to have a think about how you do this kind of thing.
And for an arena, like if you can have the facilities to have a lot more events and another tenant that's going to be there for like a good portion of the year, that can only be a good revenue stream for you, which you should look at to see if the cost of building it in will be worthwhile for the payout that you'll get for many years down the track. So,
and ice isn't just hockey either as well. Think about it. I mean, think about the ability to attract things like Disney on Ice. You know, Disney on Ice is a huge money spinner, and I don't know how big such a thing would be in the Hunter Valley. I defer to Courtney on such things, but like it's not just one thing. It's diversity. Right. Diversity of offering is huge in these kind of multi-purpose arenas.
Yeah. But anyway, it's still going to be a number of years away. I understand, Court. So it really is early times to talk about it, and I don't think it would really diminish the usage and importance of HIS in the Newcastle community either, because all your community hockey training, all that will still all happen at HIS. So
ice time is packed, so you know, if anything, a couple of hours each weekend freed up that's not being used by AI would be snuggled up very, very quickly.
That's right. It might mean that people don't have to, skate at like midnight.
Pretty much.
Ash does have a comment from our topic before. Why not use imports to versus national team as warm-up games for Worlds? I think mainly because at the moment, at that time of the season, there's very few imports around. But it's a good idea. I don't know. Changing our season as well could be something, but I don't think that's likely. As much as if you really wanted the league to be about the national teams, then you would. But it's also not run by AIHL; it's its own entity, and will do what's best for its commercial survival. Okay, guys. Sky does say, pipe dream at this stage, just like CBR having a full-size rink. Yeah, maybe. I also quite liked Eric's here. The new planned version of the current Newcastle lack of entertainment centre, a.k.a. the Newcastle Blue Shed, only is being built to seat 12,000 people, which is not a lot considering the area. And that goes to Todd's point as well. I don't think the current entertainment center is capable of hosting an ice rink.
No.
I haven't heard it's a very good facility. So, that's why they're looking at building a new one.
Yep. It'll be good. In the last however many years, the only artist I've ever seen come through there that sounded any good was Lenny Kravitz last week. His sound techs were last year. His sound techs were phenomenal, and it's probably one of the first concerts I've seen there where I haven't been like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why it's at its end of use cycle, and it needs to be redone. So I'm glad Newcastle's looking at that. I just hope iSports can be part of that. We'll see. All right, guys, let's move on to the next topic. Brisbane Lightning ownership being reinstated. How do we feel, Court?
Yeah, look, I think it's good. They found out that they had some issues behind the scenes and got it sorted. So,
I was quite happy that it happened so quickly as well. I think that was important. The uncertainty seems to have subsided.
Yeah.
Anthony, what did you think?
I'm fascinated by the last couple of sentences in their statement about report. It's like, is it Russian bots? Are they being hacked by North Korea? Who's fiddling around with the ASIC registration? And as I said, I put a comment on one of the posts because I don't understand how that can happen. Because I appreciate obviously that the Lightning as an organization are not going to want to give away too much, because if nothing else, it's pretty embarrassing to get your operating company effectively wiped from the slate midway through the campaign. It's not good. But like the implication is that somebody has done something untoward to make that happen. And actually, you can't dangle that around. You either need to be more full in your explanation or not say it until something happens. Because I think all you end up doing is you end up with people like us on the internet talking about it. You put out a statement that has then left a huge whopping great question at the end of it. And I don't necessarily think that was in the Lightning's best interest to do.
No.
But ultimately there was an issue. It has been rectified. It's been rectified, hopefully within the bylaws of the AIHL to a satisfactory standard. The folk in Brisbane have their team. Hopefully everything is all right in the background. Everything is now sorted. Better defending, probably the next thing for the Lightning to worry about.
Yeah. Yeah. 100% on ice. Although Dawn Boss did have a great game the other day too.
But their games are like basketball games. That's my big criticism of the Lightning. It is like watching basketball. Like that's great for some.
Yeah, good times. Yeah, 100%. It's definitely been basketball-esque, but that's okay. They can only go up, right? They can only improve from there.
I mean, no, because the athlete are below them, so it can get worse.
That's true, I suppose. But you know, they're still in touching distance to the teams above. Although last week was a bit of a hit, but they're still trying to fight, and they've got lots of guys who are scoring like crazy as well. So, as you say, fix up the defense end, and you've got the firepower. You can have a very good hockey team there. All right, guys, let's go into. We're going to keep this quick because we're going to get to the preview before the game starts. Hopefully, Adelaide Adrenaline article. Court, how was your feeling about this article? And then what did you make of the contents? I kind of broke it down into there were lots of questions being asked about, you know, the comings and goings of players and staff this year within the Adrenaline, and then the team culture and leadership. How did you feel about it?
Look, I think it kind of broke my heart a bit, seeing a bit of the truth of what's happening behind the scenes. And I phrase it that way because I did have an opportunity to speak to someone that experienced some of it. And, you know, as much as I don't want to agree with Sandy Logan, there were elements of that article that were true. And we're kind of seeing that on the ice with how they're playing. When your culture and your chemistry is not there, you see that in how they play. So it's very clear that there's things that aren't right. And I think that was just, you know, it's a hit piece, but it also has truth to it. So, you know, Adelaide needs to
there is necessarily not all truth into it too. So I know I've spoken to someone at the Adrenaline, and they were saying there were a lot of misinformation involved in this piece as well. So I think it's probably somewhere in the middle there.
Yeah.
One thing I will say,
little pieces of just little snippets.
One thing I will definitely say, there was a lack of reply given to Adelaide, and
that's my biggest issue too.
That part in particular is unacceptable, and I can to use an example from my side of it. There was an import player over here who left the club he was playing for and contacted me because it's like, I need to go home for a bunch of different reasons. I've been here for 9 weeks and I've not been paid. And I was like, right, went through a bunch of bits and pieces with him. And my workup of that story was, right, I need proof of all of these bits and pieces and all of this stuff. The player provided that to me. And the first thing I did after reading all of that was I rang the club and I said, this is the story I'm going with. This is what I have, you know, these are the bits and pieces that I've done. These are the questions I'm putting forward to you. You've got X amount of time to kind of come back to me. And the club ultimately they spoke to me off the record, but wouldn't respond on the record about it. But that should have been the first thing that happened in this.
Well, that's good journalism, right? Like to actually, if you're looking at a topic rather than, I've got an idea about what I want to say, I'm going to get sources to back that up, rather than going, look, I want to touch on these topics which I think are important. I'm going to get the different sides to this.
Yeah,
and I think it's worth saying out loud as well. Sandy is well within his rights to report this, and actually, the story of why the Adrenaline are having such a poor season is a reasonable topic to talk about within the context of Australian ice hockey, and that can be to do with on ice and off ice bits and pieces. There is nothing. I have no issue with somebody going, I'm going to write this article. But certainly and again, it was kind of having posted it on Facebook. Eric Balnar, God bless him, one of the best commentators in Australia by quite some distance, poked up and said, like, I criticised the team too, was Eric's point. But where is the right of reply? Have you spoken to the ownership? Have you tried to contact Rory Rawley? And I do note as well, with the other article that Sandy put out this week, there was a distinct increase in the amount of asking for comment that was noted in that piece. That wasn't in the Adelaide piece. And I think it's ultimately as well, I think there's a bunch of different pieces you can take. There are three sides to every story. There's one side, the other, and the truth that kind of lives between everybody's perspectives in the middle, right? And so that, Courtney is as reliable a source as we will get on anything related to Australian ice hockey. And if she tells me that there's some elements of truth to that piece, I will give that the credence. I'll give that the credence because I know that Courtney is reliable for these bits and pieces. The one thing I will say though, and the one thing I massively disagree with, is I'm not impressed by the Adrenaline sending out Joe McDougall to do this sort of interview piece post the team meeting. I think the ownership or Rory Rawley should have come out and spoken about this. I think they've inadvertently. I see why the Adrenaline wanted to do it that way. For me, they've inadvertently thrown their captain under the bus in response to some pretty serious allegations of what's going on there. They sent out that it should not be on the playing staff to kind of be the people to try and to turn that ship bit back around when it comes to these kind of things. I think that's a misstep by the organisation. But ultimately, there's a lot of clearly something is not right in Adelaide, right?
Yeah,
reporting on that good, but for the Adrenaline not to be, or at least not to be noted in this article as being offered the right to reply is for my part unacceptable. I don't think that's right.
Yeah, it basically turns it from being a journalistic article to being realistically what is a hit piece, that you had points that you wanted to make and you made sure that you could write something that would hit those points. I must admit, I didn't like the fact that a number of the sources were just comments made on social media that he's then posted in the article like they're gospel. Especially from people that have known disagreements and issues with the team. Like, you're going to get a certain you're going to get certain words from that. Anyway, I just thought definitely the right of reply is the big issue with that. But I did mention before, I did talk to someone at the Adrenaline, and when we can, we're going to arrange to either have an article or an interview or something with someone within the organization so that they can have a right of reply and talk to some of these issues, because I think they are important issues for people to understand.
Yeah, as an organization, they've got fans, they've got sponsors, they've got people that they need to be accountable to that might not come back next year if they don't have a clear picture that there is an element of security there. So I think it's a very wise thing that they actually give a little bit more information.
Yep. All right, guys, let's move on very quickly. The other article that came out, obviously, visa issues and drug testing issues. Let's start on visa issues. Court, let's start again with you. What did you think of this? I
think the comment sections of both spots that it was posted say it all. It's, where has he got this information from? And someone needs to be accountable under privacy laws. Like, I just think I don't love it, and I don't love giving him airtime. So
fair enough. Anthony, what did you think?
I would disagree slightly on one part that Courtney said there. I don't necessarily think publishing pit players' names in that way is appropriate. But I think if you come into it, from a journalistic perspective, if you come into that information and it points to the fact that teams are potentially cheating the visa system to bring in imports that they may not otherwise be able to get, that for me is a reasonable thing to report on. But again, it's what you do with it, right? Like you can. But what you do with that is also important. And I think the idea of like publishing players' names and what visa they came into the country on, I think is massively inappropriate. Because ultimately as well, down to a very, very basic truth, the visa they came in with may not be the visa they're on now.
Yeah.
And what you've essentially done is you are pointing the finger at the player, effectively saying that, because obviously the players have to come in with that visa, they will know. They can't turn around and be ignorant of what's in their passport, because that's where their visa goes. You're effectively pointing to each one of those players and saying, you've tried to cheat the system. And in conjunction with the clubs, you're then pointing a finger at that. But like I say, ultimately, to get in, to start, they might have started the process of getting an appropriate visa to play in the AIHL, but the guy wants to come over and get his feet on the ground. So he's not having to step off a plane after a 20-hour flight and try playing ice hockey. So he comes in on a tourist visa to be in the country, to acclimatize himself before he touches the ice in a competitive game. And I think that's problematic. Like I said, again, it's an entirely legitimate topic to talk about, because if you if the team is actively breaking the rules, or there is an issue surrounding a player and their status of where they might break the rules, hi Canberra, that is a reasonable topic to report on. I have no issue with that. But it's the big thing again is the usage of these bits and pieces. And if somebody has come to him and said, as a journalist, and said, I've got this bit of information, and actually I think there are teams that are cheating and breaking the system. I don't want to go to the AIHL management with it because I think they'll bury it. I think it's in the public interest to know. I want you to have this, do with what you will. That's fine.
Yeah,
that's happened to me, but that's happened to me in the past. And
I agree with you, Anthony. The bit in the middle between using information and getting information is the grey area, because there are privacy laws in Australia that how he obtained that information is the issue. Has someone breached from the AIHL, so whoever coordinates the ITCs, or is it someone from Home Affairs that has handed the information over? Because that information is protected, and it's not something that someone can just go, here, have this information without consequences. So I am assuming in the background there is some investigation that will come of it, because it's not as simple as going, oh, Adelaide's done this and now they're in chaos. Such a deeper, more private issue that I can guarantee the teams listed and the players listed, those teams didn't tell him that. There's no way. Yeah. Because
it's also not clear that any rules have actually been broken through this. Like, we don't know what the rules are regarding the visas, about playing in a league for an organization where you're not being paid to play. So it's not like a job. So it's kind of a gray area. It's not clearly black and white.
And the flip side of that grey area will be about releasing information like this, as the argument will be it's whistleblowing. And whistleblowing is a necessary and vital part of democracy and journalism. Now, admittedly, import players in the AIHL is probably not the highest of democratic infringements when it comes to Australia. But the point, the point will still be made that actually, like you've got a growing important sporting organisation within Australia that is wanting more eyes on it, that is improving in quality, that is starting to get national attention through a big multinational sporting broadcaster, and in the background, the teams are actively cheating to get players in. There is a huge grey area in the middle of this. There is a grey area though that I do think people would be able to fight. irrespective of people's feelings on that privacy issue. Certainly for me, I just don't necessarily think it was the right thing to do to publish everybody's names unless you're 100% sure of what their visa status is now. Because I think that because you've done half the circle, and it's immediately easily walk throughable of like, well, yeah, he came in on that visa, but he's got this visa now. Bye. Like, your point is undercut by your own lack of filling out your own point.
I also don't necessarily see the advantage of why you'd want to publish people's names anyway. You could still do something like this without publishing those names.
Shout out to the disciplinary panel of the AIHL for the last 15 years.
Yeah. Anyway.
I got my win on that finally. It took me a really long time, but I got there in the end with that one.
Yeah, I definitely think that if the league was professional, there'd probably be a lot more black and white to all of this. With it not being professional, there's just lots of grey, and I just don't know where it's going to land. But you're probably right. There probably definitely is. I just pulled up the other one. Sorry. It probably definitely is. An investigation will occur, and we'll see what happens with all of that. I will say, going forward, what we're probably going to get out of this, I reckon we won't see anything occur to the players or teams this year. I think any decision will be later, and then changes would probably occur for next year. I imagine there'll probably have to be some sort of governance changes to, policies brought out regarding visas and what visas people should be on, and that will be a governance requirement that people prove what visas everyone's on next season onwards. I don't know if there's any policy currently in place, but yeah, that's what I would imagine would happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's no anything else that occurs regarding penalties and all this. I just can't see it at the moment because I just don't know there's actually anything that's actually been broken. As far as the drug testing issue goes, that didn't actually, it involves a former AHL player, Austin Albrecht, who's playing in the Ice Hockey Classic. He's suspended to play in Australia in all sanctioned leagues. Of course, the Ice Hockey Classic is unsanctioned. It is a private exhibition series. I don't think they have to follow any suspensions if they don't want to. It's just an exhibition series.
It's technically a private event.
That's right. Like, Kerry and Co, they can choose to have whatever players they want to play. But yeah, anyway, what do you think, Anthony?
I said it wouldn't fly here. Australia has clearly got a different, as you say, it is a private event. It's entirely fine. It would be a private event if it was done here, but Albrecht plane wouldn't swing my side of there on this particular island compared to your slightly larger island.
Court, what do you think?
It's a private event, whatever. Yeah. At the end of the day,
it's kind of how I saw it too. It's not really an issue. They're just going to do what they want.
Bring the cat back. Everyone needs a perk up. We talked about too many sad things.
Yeah, it's the cat.
I can't believe she went and got the cat. Hey!
That's so cute.
The real savior of Australian ice hockey.
Let's quickly get into the preview for this weekend. Obviously, there is Friday night hockey again tonight. We've got the Sydney Ice Dogs versus the Perth Thunder. First time the Thunder have ever been on a Friday night game. Anthony, how do you think they're going to go?
I have the Dogs winning this one by 2. Just because the Thunder are obviously, both sides very, very good. It's second v third. It's a great game to have on a Friday night. Of course, it is a bit of a weird weekend for the Thunder, regardless. I'm interested as to how well they will have travelled. I think the Dogs at home are a really, really tough task. Potentially, we end up I reckon the Dogs get this one in regulation, but if this one ends up going if we get bonus hockey at the end of it, I wouldn't be drastically surprised, I must say, but I didn't think the Dogs would do as well as they have done at the beginning of the season. So I feel like I kind of need to own the dogs have exceeded my expectations, and therefore give them a tiny bit of my backing in this one. But yeah, this will. I don't think we're heading for a cricket score tonight.
No, that's fair. Court, what do you think tonight?
I'm kind of on the same page a little bit. I think Ice Dogs have been playing incredibly well, and they're going to really put it to Perth. So I think, they're going to be under a bit of pressure. They've had to travel today. We've seen big traveling teams do good things and have some wins. So, it could go. It could go either way, and that's just the story of the season.
I like it, Lauren. Oz Hockey Mascats.
I like it.
There we go. All right. Again, another talking point this week. Perth have their insane 3 games in 3 days in 3 cities. They're in Sydney tonight, Erina tomorrow, Brisbane Sunday. How do you think they're going to fare in this crazy schedule?
I think tonight and tomorrow will probably be fine, pretty standard. They're pretty used to 2 games. They've only got to travel from Sydney to Erina. It's not huge. I think the Sunday game is going to be interesting to watch to see just how much it affects them, because when you've got to move from, I imagine they'll finish in Erina, have to probably be on a bus to Sydney, fly to Brisbane. Yeah. Whether they do that straight after the game or they do it the next morning. If it's straight after the game, they've not had there's no quality recovery, no quality rest, no quality food in that. And then if they do it the next morning, they might be rested, but then it's a lot of work to catch a flight, carry all your gear, get to the rink on time. So I think it's going to hit them pretty hard. So I think Sunday's the game that will be tricky.
Anthony, what do you think?
I think if you're Perth, you target your realistic target is 5 or 6 from 9 out of a 3-game weekend. Really, with all the will in the world, it would take something of quite an astronomical collapse from the Thunder across the remainder of the season to not make finals. The question, I think, for the Thunder now is where they finish in the regular season to be in to start their finals weekend. I actually think they might fare a little bit better on Sunday because of all the teams to play at the end of that stretch. The Lightning, who as I've said a bit, and I hate to keep picking on for it, but they're not a great defensive team this year. And Perth, a tired Perth that does simple things well and sticks to its defensive structure, can still get out of Boondall with a result, in my opinion. I think, yeah, do they get 9 out of this weekend? I'd be drastically surprised if they do, but they obviously can. But yeah, I reckon if they come out with 5 or 6 points, I reckon Ben Bro and the crew will be pretty satisfied on the whole.
So I does say, she prefer Perth to lose next weekend because I'm pretty sure they're playing Melbourne, but looks like they have only travelled with a small team. So yeah, I think that only traveling with a small team will only add to their workload, but I'm not surprised by that at all. Yeah, I've seen teams travel quite light at sometimes this year. So when you're especially doing that much travel, I'm not surprised. Of course, what else was I going to say? The Brave and Bears play this weekend. They play each other both home and away, which will be interesting. Again, one of these split kind of weekends, but traveling between Canberra and Sydney is drastically different from Perth to Sydney to Central Coast to Brisbane. It should be a good series though. Real midfield battle right there, and Bears coming off a pretty good week, Brave coming off a good week. It should be a great series. Court, any game of the week that you're really looking forward to?
I'm curious to see how North Stars Mustangs go. It's not as spicy as when we had the double in Brisbane and then had them at home. So,
Are you commentating?
Yeah. A little bit nervous. No big deal. No, I think that game's going to be a lot of fun because both teams played really well in Melbourne. So how do the Mustangs go when they travel? Newcastle have a bit of a bigger lineup. I think that one will be fun, but I'll be paying close attention to Perth this weekend just to see how they play tonight and compare it each day to how they go. So,
Eric does mention this, by the way, as well, and this is a really good point. 2 teddy bear tosses this weekend for the Bears and Brave. Have the Bears and Brave ever done teddy bear tosses before? I don't think the Brave have.
I don't remember, to be honest.
I always thought it was a Perth and Melbourne thing.
Yeah.
So it seems to be growing.
It would have been tricky at Phillip with the netting. So I don't remember it last year with AIS, but it would make sense that it's a bit easier to do.
Yeah.
That would have also been the same in Sydney as well, right?
Yeah.
Before they had the glass.
Yeah.
Anyway, that should be fun. More teddy bear tosses. I love it. Anthony, what about you? What game are you looking forward to this round?
I mean, like I said, I'll definitely be keeping tabs on Perth this weekend as well, just because of the oddity. But I think as well now, given some of the news over the last couple of days, I think Adelaide versus Brisbane tomorrow takes on a very, very different connotation than it maybe had this time, the beginning of the week. Given some of the news, I'm interested to see what the adrenaline's response is to some of the things that have come out about them. Bears and Brave, I think, is given the fact that we could be seeing some permutation of that in about 8 weeks' time. I think as well, we'll definitely be wants to keep an eye on. But me, I'll be flicking between all the games as much as humanly possible across the course of the weekend. But yeah, I'm very interested by Adelaide versus Brisbane tomorrow at the bottom end of the table, just to see. Been a rough couple of weeks for both organisations who can provide something out of the mess to try and get themselves back on track.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I must admit, I'm personally really looking forward to the Brave Bears series. I think that's going to be really interesting to see who will get on top. I fully expect a split this weekend, but then also the Mustangs Ice Dogs on Sunday. I think it's going to be a really interesting game as well. Ice Dogs are really interesting because they're just. They still seem to be trying to find their feet after losing Shane Hanna, and I feel like they're nearly there. They've just got to lock everything into place, and then they should be fine again. But at the moment, they've been sort of dragged back into the midfield pack, where they were sort of fighting in that sort of top 3 before. But Newcastle have done very well to pull away again. God. Very, very well.
Look, it'd be nice to just get a few more points and just pull out a bit more of a lead. If Thunder have a chance to get enough points this weekend to take top of the table. So, to get as many points as you can when you can is ideal. And that goes for everyone, right?
And winning the H&M read isn't the curse it once was. So.
Yeah,
everyone should be less afraid of winning this. They should be wanting to win it. Damn it, the premiership is worthwhile.
Yes, I agree.
Steve Muller says yes, it is. He just confirming it is the first for the Brave. I do also like this too. VIP can get an assist on your throw.
I like that.
Because say Teddy Bear toss. Just hope I can clear the VIP section cap. It's quite a big gap on that side.
When it happens, they're probably going to want to grab their drinks.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally.
Because
drinks are going to go down.
That there's somebody who's going to be at that game who has never been before. And all of a sudden they'll just be looking around. Why is everybody covering? They've scored. It's a good. Why is everyone covering that?
Yeah. Anyway, it should be good fun.
Yes, as long as nobody gets knocked out like at one teddy bear toss we had in Basingstoke one year, where a volunteer got on the ice, packed all the teddy bears into a bag, got the bag off the ice, and swung it over their shoulder, and the bag hit a spectator in the back of the head, who then went into the glass, knocked them unconscious. So if you can avoid that, you're winning.
What are the chances? That is unbelievable. Who goes to the hockey and goes, yeah, I got knocked out today. Why? Teddy bears.
I mean, I've been hitting the head with a puck before. I've been hitting the head. I've been hitting the chest, sitting in the stands. But yeah, nothing beats being knocked out by a bin liner full of teddy bears.
That is definitely something. All right, guys. Court, any last words?
Yeah. Look, as always, thank you everyone for tuning in live. I think that's one of our longest podcasts to date. Thank you for everyone that jumps in the comments. And don't forget to jump onto Facebook and Instagram, where Sean is just unbelievable with his posts every week, sharing ladder stats, milestones, all the updates that you need to know. Share it with your friends, help them keep in the loop. And, shout out to Anthony and our UK fans. We love and appreciate you. It's nice to know we reach the other side of the world, and grateful for stealing some of your morning.
Thanks, Court. Anthony, any last words?
Banners on the wall.wordpress.com. Our second tier has recently changed a bunch of its game day roster rules. Our second tier has gone from 4 imports to 5 imports. So I've done a big breakdown of the rule changes. If you're Australian, go have a read, see what you think. Could any of those bits and pieces work in the AIHL or in some of the lower leagues like the ECSL, for example? Fascinated to hear your thoughts as ever. Charlie Smart in net for the Thunder, and it's now just gone 1-0 Ice Dogs. Sorry, Charlie, for cursing you on that particular front. But just massively honoured to, like I say, be sort of hovering in the orbit. I'm always in awe of the amount of effort and energy that goes into things Australian ice hockey. Whether it's you guys, whether it's Barnburner, and there's so much good stuff kind of going on. I'm delighted that finally people my side of the world, a few more people are starting to kind of wake up to what's happening here. There's so much good stuff going on. Just always really, really, really honoured to kind of be in the orbit and to be asked to kind of do things like this, because I'm a fair bit away. The time difference is hard, but but this is what hockey does. Hockey as a community brings people together from wherever they are. All we can hope for maybe is a slightly calmer end to the season and a really, really good finals weekend. And then when you all get stuck in September when you have no hockey, guildfordflames.com. Come listen to me on Flames TV across the Elite League season.
Love it.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony, for coming on. All right, guys. Peace out. Enjoy tonight. Enjoy the weekend.